This is a beautiful time of the year to get out and get going, and that's what we're going to do. I'll visit the Carter Center in Atlanta for the presentation of the Peace Corps' Lillian Carter Award. Learn how to exercise in the hot tub with Jack LaLane and visit some historic gardens. That's all today on In Our Prime. As people age, many are likely to experience eye problems.
The common diseases that can rob the vision, sometimes silently, are cataract, glaucoma, macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy.
The American Academy of Ophthalmology created Eye Care America in 1985 to help older Americans who are unable to afford eye care. It is now one of the largest public service programs in American medicine. One major effort of Eye Care America is identifying people who have glaucoma. When glaucoma destroys people's vision, they don't get it back. It's estimated that more than 3 million people in the United States have glaucoma, and many are unaware that they have the disease.
I checked a lot with my vision at night when I watch television. I winked this eye and I winked this eye. The right eye I couldn't see too well, like a curtain was in front of me, and I knew there was something desperately wrong with that eye.
Glaucoma is a chronic disease of the optic nerve. It is an insidious loss of vision that comes on without pain, and by the time the patient is aware that something might be wrong, they've already lost a great deal of vision, and hence the nickname, the silent thief of vision for glaucoma.
I was shocked that I had glaucoma because I could see. I was still driving and I could see everything, but my right eye I couldn't see too well.
The vision loss is in the periphery and comes on very, very gradually. It comes on so gradually without pain that you just aren't aware of it. And we see patients whose vision's 20/20. They say, well, gosh, I've gone to the eye doctor. You know, I'm 20/20, I can't have glaucoma, and we do a visual field on them, and they have what we call tunnel vision. You know, they see 20/20 right in the middle, but they have to search around, but they've adapted over the years. And of course, once that's pointed out to them, they're aware how much they've lost, and you cannot get that back.
Early detection and treatment of glaucoma is essential.
Family history is a critical thing that we're trying to get across to the public. If you have a mother or father with glaucoma, you're 10 times more likely to get glaucoma compared to someone without this family history. If you have a sibling with glaucoma, you're 20 times more likely.
My mother had it and she passed. My sisters, I have like 3 sisters that have it, and I just found out my brother have it.
If you're African American, you are significantly at greater risk. It is the single leading cause of blindness in young African Americans.
He said glaucoma, and it struck me as something, you know, really powerful, because I thought I was going to go blind.
If you have risk factors that put you at high risks, such as a family member with glaucoma, African American race, and older Americans, 40 and above, then these are the people that should be checked.
Glaucoma can be controlled with medication, and the earlier it's caught, the better. Lighting is really very important as we grow older, and there are a lot of simple ways to solve this problem. Number one is just think about putting a larger wattage bulb in these lamps. To go from 60 to 100 watts, all of a sudden a whole new world opens to you. A second way is to think about, when you remodel, is to think about putting in task lighting. These lights focus on the task, and it really makes a big difference. Third, just natural light. In this case, we put in these windows, upper level windows, and we call them privacy windows because you can't see in from the outside because they're upper level, and they face south, and they bring a lot of natural light into the room. And number 4 is just think about these glass sliders. They give you a great deal of light. They face east, and what a way to start your day. While we're talking about natural light, one of the best ways to get it is with a skylight. It brings in the morning, afternoon, evening light and brightens your whole day. If you're thinking about remodeling, don't forget rocker switches. They're wonderful if you have arthritis. And secondly, as far as lighting is concerned, dimmers are a godsend. They increase the light, they decrease it, and they control the intensity. I hope these tips are going to help you see more clearly. For older people living home alone, medical alarms can provide peace of mind for them and their families.
In the summer, my grandson has a garden, and I went outside to pick some tomatoes and some basil, and my slipper got caught around the fence that he has there, and I fell down. Of course, my knees, I had double knee surgery, and I couldn't get on my knees to get up, and so I just sat there for about a half an hour.
I don't hear nothing. I'll tell you the truth.
TV was on too loud.
Yeah. Oh. I fell down a couple times myself.
This is before we had the
Yeah, right.
our signal here.
When I fell down, she had to help me.
Everybody went away that week, and I was the only one that was here. My brothers and sisters all go away together. And within that first week, they both fell. The next day, I called up the VNA.
Often it's our case managers who are nurses that are in the homes, usually after an acute episode of some kind, and they see that long-term needs need to start being put in place so that when the nurse is discharging the patient, they'll continue to be able to stay in their home. And one of those things to make people safe in their home is the Lifeline unit.
When an emergency occurs, a person can push a button on a pendant worn around the neck. That calls a response center, which will immediately call back on the speakerphone base unit. If the person doesn't respond, the response center notifies family members or emergency personnel. When shopping for a medical alarm, you need to look for certain features. Make sure it has a battery backup in case of a power failure. Look for an emergency button on the base unit, which allows activation in case the pendant doesn't work. Make sure the company frequently checks that the system is operational.
With my father, if we go out for the evening or whatever, he doesn't feel like he's alone now. If we're not here, at least he knows that somebody is there for him. Or even if my mother's alone, she knows that there's somebody there for her. It just gives me so much peace of mind. It gives us all peace of mind.
I have today signed an executive order providing for the establishment of a Peace Corps. This Corps will be a pool of trained men and women to help foreign countries meet their urgent needs for skilled manpower.
It was exciting to visit the Carter Center in Atlanta, Georgia, for the presentation of the Lillian Carter Award.
It was created, obviously, in honor of Lillian Carter, who served in India in the late 60s. And in fact, she even celebrated her 70th birthday while she was a volunteer in India. And from that example that she gave, this was an opportunity for Peace Corps to be very dramatic in stating how important it is for older volunteers to serve in the Peace Corps.
The Peace Corps has more than 7,000 volunteers working around the world. About 6% of those volunteers are people over 50. Peace Corps volunteers provide technical assistance in developing countries and continue to share the spirit of their experiences in their home communities. Inspired by his great-grandmother, Jason Carter served in the Peace Corps in South Africa in 1998.
Grandmama meant so much to everybody. Her experience in the Peace Corps was such a huge part of her life, and it infected the rest of my family with this idea that they could do anything until they were whatever age. And it infected them also with this idea that this woman who was a nurse in Plains, Georgia for her whole life could go halfway across the world at a time when there wasn't email or phones or anything that would keep her connected. And And that spirit is such a part of my family, and it means so much to all of us that being able to participate in an award like this is it's really neat for me personally.
I had heard about the Peace Corps first from John Kennedy when I thought that was a wonderful idea, but I had 3 little kids and I put that away. Then I heard about it again when Lillian Carter name came up when Jimmy Carter was running for president. And I thought that's a wonderful thing to do at an older age. So I filed that away in my mind to come back to later. Well, years passed, and finally there was a little voice inside saying, well, Eileen, what are you saving yourself for? And so that time I listened and I ended up in Nepal.
Eileen taught science and English to children in Nepal, and she also did volunteer work in Romania. When she returned home, she continued to work in the spirit of the Peace Corps, helping the Honduran people after a hurricane devastated their country. As many older people who had served in the Peace Corps looked on, President Jimmy Carter presented the award honoring his mother.
Mama, after she got back from the Peace Corps, made 500 speeches with 2 subjects all mixed in between. One is, age should never be a limit on your constantly expanding life. And the other emphasis was on how the Peace Corps offered that opportunity. I think in many ways, my mother represents the finest aspects of the Peace Corps. And I think in many ways, the Peace Corps represents the finest aspects of our country. This afternoon, we're honoring a woman whom I've known for 28 years. And I'm very proud of her.
Eileen Blumenthal gained confidence and learned perseverance in the Peace Corps. Those qualities have helped her continue to serve and inspire the love of the people she helps. It's spring, the perfect time to dig up some garden tips and talk about garden design with landscaper Rob Foucault.
A lot of my clients have historic houses, and they have a lot more funds to play with, so they can have more fun with the garden. One of the houses we're going to see is the Tremonti Archer House, which is in Harwinton. It's a federal mansion, really, I think you would call it. And they asked me to do a redesign for the grounds. So I thought the kind of garden that would be appropriate is what is called a colonial revival garden. A garden that in the history of the house might have been created around 1920, that a nice big gracious estate would have had.
Ah, this is great to look out over there.
When the garden blooms in the summer, this little water garden is blue and lime green color scheme flowers, and that section of the garden is pink, red, and white plants.
Tell me a little about this wonderful water feature that you have here. Okay. And it's so good for seniors. It's so easy, I gather, to make and to use.
Yeah, you just get a pot at your local garden center, and you get a small water pump, and I just put a base in, a cinder block for this pot, and place the pump on that. And then you can do different things with them. You can put rocks on the top. Sound of the water outside your kitchen or your bedroom window is a very peaceful sound.
Meditative.
Yeah.
We visited Harriet Beecher Stowe's garden in Hartford.
Harriet Beecher Stowe, besides being a writer and a painter, loved horticulture. She was mad for gardens. She loved blue flowers, and later in the season this turns into an all-blue garden.
Really?
And we've incorporated a lot of herbs and cottage garden plants and meadow plants into this garden scheme because Harriet loved meadow flowers. Usually historic landscapes or gardens occur over hundreds of years, and the key is to be able to tell lots of stories throughout all these different layers of history.
Now that we're in from the garden, we're going to learn about some wonderful recipes coming right from the garden. So Chef Michel will show them to us.
That's right, Bill. And I love gardening. My wife and I have a huge garden at home, and we spend a lot of time there with the kids and with our neighbors and stuff. And we just enjoy this time of year because it is garden season. What I love to do is go out early and pick some young spring greens like some spinach, you know, summer greens, some of the hardier lettuces or basil, herbs, scallions. I chop them all up and I just stir them into my pastel egg omelet.
Pastel, what does that mean?
Well, you can see that this omelet is a light yellow. What I do is I take 1 whole egg and 3 egg whites.
Oh, really?
And I'm reducing my saturated fat by 75%. Now, egg white omelets I've never been fond of. They're watery, they run all over, they're flavorless.
Right.
Now, and some saturated fat isn't bad, so 1 yolk goes a long way. Remember that egg whites are bland, so you can taste that yolk and it holds the omelet together. Look, it's smooth,
just beautiful.
It's gorgeous, and we have some wonderful snow peas on there and some great grape tomatoes. It's a great breakfast. For lunch, I love to do salad, sometimes just a big bowl of salad. And here we have beets, which are powerful with antioxidants. The skin, just like grapes or apples or potatoes, possess a lot of tannins. Tannins are very powerful antioxidant. It's the tannins in red wine that make it so good for our heart health. And then we have some wonderful beans, some French icicle radishes, and great summer lettuces. We just toss everything together. A little bit of aged balsamic vinegar, good for the blood. Again, great antioxidant powers, good vitamins from the Trebbiano grape, and some extra virgin olive oil. Now, I've put a piece of other white meat on to get a bit ahead, but here we have really wonderful boneless pork loin chops. And what we have is today's modern version of the panini griddle. Everybody that I know has these in their home now, and you can actually go to the supermarket and they cut these pieces of meat, pork, chicken, ribeye, to fit these grills. So it's amazing. So what I do is I just take a piece of these boneless pork chops, put a little bit of salt and some freshly milled pepper.
It's looking better and better.
Oh, wait until you smell it. I mean, can you smell the one that's already cooking?
Oh, yeah.
It's driving me crazy. I can't wait. And look at how this one looks. See how that caramelized? If you've noticed, I'm not using oil either. And what I like to do is put the pork chop right on. I encourage people, because all they do is this. They'll cook the meat.
Yeah.
You can actually cook the vegetables too.
Oh, you're going to make my cooking much easier.
Indeed I am. Now here, I'm going to use a little bit of garden beans. These are Kentucky Wonder beans. And then here I have some rosemary.
Rosemary too.
Which is just a great garden herb. I'm putting them all on the grill. And watch what happens. I'm going to drizzle with just a little bit of this wonderful olive oil.
I can smell it. It's so good.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, yeah.
And then we're just going to close the grill. Now, what I love to do is help people with a couple of gardening tips that can help them enjoy a little bit of an early harvest. Now, in January, I have some southern exposure windows.
Right.
So I start my grape tomatoes early because grape tomatoes come out quickly. So I put these in pots, large pots, and let them grow all the way, very well seasoned composted soil. And then as soon as the first frost has passed, I put my containers outside, and then I have grape tomatoes as early as the end of May. And just as a quick trick, you'll see that the beans are actually starting to grill here.
They are,
I'm just going to throw a couple of these tomatoes on.
A meal all in one.
All on one panini griddle. And here, check this out. Watch this. These are perfectly cooked.
Look at that.
See that? Isn't that wonderful? Going to put a piece of pork, rosemary garnish, and a couple of warm grape tomatoes. And voila, you have
my God.
a garden meal.
A bite of this?
Yes, you may. Now I can just smell the rosemary.
Oh, isn't that?
Yeah. Let's see.
Come on, everybody together. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Da da dee 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 dee.
Jack LaLane is known as the godfather of fitness and inspired millions of people to start exercising. Today, Jack is still at it. But he didn't start out being fit. He had to work at it.
Oh, I was a sick, weak kid. I was a full-blown sugarholic, and I dropped out of school for 6 months. It was during this time I attended a health lecture, and that man said if you obeyed nature's laws, you could be born again. What was nature's laws? About exercise, but mostly was eating right, eating natural foods in their natural state. So I went home that night, and I made up my mind I was going to change my whole life around. I went strict vegetarian, joined the Berkeley, California YMCA. The rest is history.
Jack became a fitness celebrity on television, in magazines, and in books.
I do the same things I did when I was 20. I work out with the weights at least an hour and a half every day. Then I spend the rest of the time in the pool. And I change my program every 30 days, completely. But everything I do is to muscle failure. I do it hard. Life is hard. Life's a battlefield. You got to train like you're training for an athletic event. Most people just take it for granted. Well, here I am, you know. To live, you've got to work at it. Dying is easy. Any stupid person can die. Living, you've got to train like an athletic event.
According to Jack, it's never too late to start exercising.
You know, they've taken people in their 90s and they put them in a 6 to 8 week program and they double their strength and double their endurance 6 to 8 weeks. How would you like to double your strength and your endurance? 6 to 8, well, you can do it, but there's a price to pay. That price, the food you put in your body, and you have to exercise. Pardon me if I'm yelling, but I want to help you so badly, but I want you to help yourself.
Jack took us to his hot tub to demonstrate some simple exercises.
This is your personal physical instructor, Jack LaLane, who's all wet. Yes, sir. I'm in the hot tub. You can do it in the pool. Now, if you're there, take your right hand. Now pull water out of the hot tub. Pull it hard. This is one of the best exercises you can do for your chest and your arms. You gal really helps your bust line to stay in place. 1, 2, pull hard and breathe. Water exercises are fantastic. I've been doing them since I've been 15 years old. See, you can run in place. You can pretend you're swimming, you know. You don't have to swim. And there's all kinds. You can jump up on your toes and all kinds of exercise you can do right there in a hot tub or a pool. The most important person is you, because you affect the members of your family, your friends. You know, this rubs off on these people. If you start taking care of yourself, then these people are going to be motivated to do something for themselves. So be good to you. See, right now, I pretend I'm riding a bicycle. See, like this, see? Pump, 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 pump. You pull them into your chest and extend your legs. That gets your thighs, it gets your waistline, gets your hips. It's incredible, terrific. But great cardiovascular, makes you breathe. Then inhale. Inhale, the more oxygen you take in, the more fat you burn. The golden years are today. The minute you sit back, that's a death knell.
For over 50 years, he's inspired and challenged Americans to stay healthy. He's the one and only Jack LaLane.
You know what time it is? It's time to leave you. Let's say goodbye. These precious moments just seem to fly. Now here's my wish for you. May the good Lord bless and keep you too. God bless you. We love you.
That's all we have time for today. I hope you have a long and healthy life. And let's end up with some thoughts from Ellen Rita Evans.
Doctors and vacations don't mix. A call came to me from the office. It truly did make my day. An appointment to scope out my bowels is what Linda had called to say. This week, I'm on my vacation. No way that's considered as fun. So I said there's no way I would do it, and maybe 'twould never be done. They've monitored, x-rayed, and grammed me. They're intent on invading my stern. With all these tests and appointments, I figure there's something they'll learn. I'm sure it'll be quite expensive, whatever they happen to find. My body will then be invaded as soon as they make up their mind. They say that my heart doesn't beat right, but it is still beating, I know. And some operations don't go right, and many folks then get to go. I'm not really sure that I'm ready, even though I'm now 66. And until I say they can do it, there's not a damn thing they can fix.
This program was made possible by
AARP Foundation, helping people find jobs, fill out their tax forms, making our communities better, helping to enhance our quality of life as we age. AARP, the power to make it better.
major support for In Our Prime, also provided by Massonicare, with additional funding from Qualidime and Sunrise Senior Living.
We are PBS.